All right, we are going to get started very shortly. It looks like we're getting closer to having a presentation. We see it back here. Yeah, so I am Dean and this is Adam. 5 days ago, we landed back in the United States from being in Cambodia for 2 weeks. So we're jet lagging a little bit, and we're glad that we can be here this morning, and it's an extra privilege that Garth preached, and then we get to speak about the place where he is from. So we are going to, we're calling this Hearing the Heart. This year we just really, our focus was just really listening to people, sitting down and talking with them, the Rices, Haiti, and then the other people that we love and support who live in Cambodia. So we did a lot of that. We heard their heart, and so I feel like we just know more about Cambodia. We know more about YWAM, and we have been just so blessed with what God has done in our hearts and the way we were blessed as we blessed them. We're going to, so one thing we noticed after 3 years, it was 3 years since we've been in Cambodia. So there were a lot of changes, just surfacely. The trees were a lot bigger on campus. We walked in, we're like, wow, that was been 3 years. There's a new building that's on campus. Construction happening everywhere, all over Battambang, Phnom Penh, and everywhere we went, there was a lot of construction. And Caroline said that that's one thing that never really stopped. So there's a lot happening. People, their English is so much better than it was 3 years ago. And so just we just noticed a lot of things were different from 3 years ago. And we obviously have probably grown also. So we spent time with a lot of people. When the word got out, then more people wanted to spend time. So we spent a lot of time. I think before we get the slides going here, they'll kind of guide us through. Adam, do you want to just, your comments and thoughts of the trip? Yes. Do you have it? Yeah, turn it over.
All right, how about now?
That's good,
All right.
yeah, we hear you.
For you, all of you that were in first service, just to continue the message that Garth already preached, and just the things he already shared about Cambodia, hopefully this just goes a little bit deeper for those who are here for second service, just to prepare you for something that, a sermon that won't disappoint, and just overall, as we get into the slides, just taking the time to, as Garth already said, like we're a church that supports missions, and just to have a heart for not only what we do here, but what they're doing in Cambodia. And yeah, I think just as we share the slides, just thank you for being here and listening to us.
All right, Cambodia 2022. All right, and I'll give you guys a thumbs up, and that means go ahead and go to the next slide. So we traveled 7 hours on trains, 40 hours on airplanes, 13 hours on buses and taxis, and then numerous tuk-tuks, mopeds, motor vehicles. And so there was a way to get there. It's a long way, but it's totally worth it. So we arrived in Phnom Penh. We had never been in Phnom Penh. This was a new city to fly into until Siem Reap gets a new airport. And so Phnom Penh is a big booming city. It's first world, third world, all mixed up together. A beautiful place. We got to see some of the sights around there. We have a friend named Lay who we met 3 years ago at YWAM. He was with the YDC. He was in one of the mass baptisms that happened right before we got there. 26 people were baptized, and Lay was one of them. So he was our tour guide and translator and protector. We needed that to get through the city. So this is, next slide, I'm sorry. The Mekong River. This river runs down through part of Phnom Penh. And what you're seeing here is the Royal Palace. And it's all lit up at night, and it's quite beautiful. We also visited a genocide museum, and Adam's going to talk a little bit about that experience.
Oh yeah, Tool Slang Genocide Museum. Um, for us as Americans, to get to walk through this with Lay as a Cambodian really provided a lot of insight. You know, he's in his early to mid-20s, so he provided like what was taught to him in school. And Garth, again, already touched on like the history and just taking the time to really walk through and see as close to firsthand like what the Cambodians went through with the genocide was. It's definitely, if you're going to spend time there or have a heart for Cambodia, it's worth knowing more about. There's definitely images that you won't forget.
We didn't put any pictures up here that it's not good to see, but there were bones and skeletons, so this was just the easy part.
Yeah, and they have people there that actually survived being in this prison. It was originally a primary school that they took over and made into a prison during the Khmer Rouge, and I think the stats are something like 20,000 people died there. And then it's, I believe, southwest of the city is where, either the or the biggest killing field where a lot of those, people ended up. Anything else you want to add to that?
It was hard to watch. It was interesting to hear Lay's take on it. He said, this isn't what they taught us in school.
Yeah.
Made sense.
Yeah, they kind of just taught you that Pol Pot was not a good person. They didn't really go into the mass genocide in school for him.
From there, we went to Kompong Cham. Now, before we left, I prayed that somebody would invite us into their home. The Lord answered that prayer. About 2 days later, our friend Chitra wrote to me and said, would you like to come and stay in my home? And I'm like, oh, yeah, there's an idea. So this was the first time that we stayed in a home. And it was a really, really good experience. This young man has gone over into that area. He had been in YWAM some years ago, and he has a small church. We went to that church. They had been waiting for hours because miscommunication and language barrier and so forth. But we got to go there and to bless them and pray for them, talk into them, encourage them, and it was quite exciting. Then we went to the guy that he has discipled to lead the church. We went to his home and prayed for his family, and we just really saw the Spirit of God move. It was quite an experience. We got a little bit stretched during this period, and that was good. We expected to get stretched. So the home is up here. So a little bit of culture. We are seated in front of the house out towards the neighbors by ourselves eating breakfast.
That was breakfast.
That was our breakfast. And so that was,
yeah,
we have Americans in our house, here they are. So that was different.
Chitra was someone who exemplified hospitality right off the bat. A person who maybe didn't have a lot, but like he walked in, he had a room prepared for us, had new towels or scarves to give to us. I don't know exactly the history of scarves in Cambodia, but it's like something that they a lot of times offer a guest.
We were gifted with a lot of scarves.
And a lot happened. That was on the front end of our trip, and it was like, it definitely stretched us to get to meet the people that he has discipled at their church, just how much they love Jesus. And again, this is something I wrote down. It's going to come up a few times. It's like we encountered many times where Christians in Cambodia that have accepted Christ, like their faith is tied to action, and it's not separated. It's faith and action.
So the next day before we got on a bus to go to Battambang, we went to the Sampor Elementary School. The director of the school is Buddhist, and so the school is basically Buddhist. There are 3 Christian teachers there, our friend Chitra, his disciple, and I believe it's his sister. So we went into the classrooms, and then they told us these children had never seen foreigners before, which explained their shy giggles and things like that. So we're the face of foreigners. it was quite exciting. So they were a little nervous, and then I said, okay, let's start doing high fives, and we got them all loosened up, and we were high fiving, fist bumping, and everything else that I don't know if they've ever heard of. So it was a really good experience. So then his first words were, I wonder if they could donate some money.
Yeah, the
And we
director
were-
didn't speak any English, so
Yeah.
that came through Chitra talking
So-
to us.
We said, yeah, they needed $50 to put up a solar light out front. And so then on Facebook, he wrote the following: the committee directors, vice presidents, and staff of Sempor would like to thank Mission Hill, Mr. Dean and Adam from USA for donating 50 to
Yes.
buy solar campus. I would like to wish you and your family to receive the 3 blessings: longevity, health, and strength. God bless you.
So it's just interesting that, eventually there will be a solar light in a Buddhist school in Cambodia that has a plaque that reads, God bless you, Mission Hill Church. Thank you, Adam and Dean. So it's just something special, I think.
Yeah, it's very special. From here, we rode on a very rough, bumpy, full bus to Battambang. We didn't have SIM cards, so God was with us. We made it, but we couldn't communicate, and we didn't even know where we were because we didn't have Wi-Fi, and there was a lot of reasons why it was a little scary. But we made it to Battambang, and when we got to Battambang, we found the Rices, and they found us, and we quickly got together and had a meal together. So it was excellent. The next morning, we went to the campus. This is the YWAM base. You won't find a more beautiful base, probably, for YWAM. The building in the back there is brand new and still in progress. So that will be a big sanctuary type place.
Off to your left.
Off to the left, I'm sorry. And beautiful campus. And that's where we spent a lot of our time throughout the week. Change a slide. This is the Community Light Church, the YWAM church Garth had talked about. This was the first time I've been there 3 times, but this is the first time we had church at YWAM. Sometimes we came later, and the last time we went to another church. So it was good to worship with YWAM. We got a lot of hugs, embraces, high fives, hi, how are you? And just people were glad to see us. And
And it's not just for the staff or people at the campus. This is anyone from the community is welcome to come to this.
they were having child dedication. That's what was happening there. And you know these people. So talk a little about the Bryces. I will advance screens as we go here for a little bit.
Yeah, well, all of you, I'm sure, do know that we sent out Darren and Grace and their 3 children to serve full-time in Battambang. They're very involved. They're committed. I wrote this down because we use a lot in missions, the scriptures about the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. And that comes up with so many of the ministries that we sat down with and that they're involved with, that there's a lot going on and there's a lot of needs there.
All right, so yeah, it was so good to see the races. I think in his next newsletter there will be a video of us, our reuniting time. That was quite exciting. The kids just came running, and I think we were running towards each other maybe. It was wonderful to see them. We spent some really good quality time with the Rice family, and just loving on them, encouraging them, and just letting them know that you all are at home here supporting them. And so it was a really good experience. We had some good cooking from Grace. If you were in our GC, you understand what that means.
Mm-hmm. And they have a house that's off the campus in a place that's being built up very quickly, but that's where they live.
Yeah, we just a lot of good family time with them, and we miss them very much, but we are so blessed that they are here. We know that they are where God wants them to be. Also, we spent time with Haiti. We spent an afternoon. Haiti lives with her friend, and her friend's family owns the property, and she lives in a side house there.
Yeah, when she was here visiting, her friend Niet, that's who she lives with, that family that shared during a Sunday school hour.
We were in the back. They had low-hanging fruit, and the family just kept bringing food to us as we were visiting with Haiti.
Yeah, it reminds me, I never thought about it, that when a coconut falls to the ground, that it's kind of just one giant seed. It sends roots into the ground and then starts sprouting out of the top. It's just something I learned in those minutes there that I thought was interesting.
So this was Saturday morning, our last Saturday morning. We had breakfast on the street. This is always a good experience. It was very good. It was very good. Niet and Haiti met us with their motos, and we went just a little bit up the street and just had a really wonderful time hanging out with them. And yeah, so it was such a blessing to see our people in Cambodia. Such a blessing. All right, so next slide. Okay, so this is my friend Joshua. I met Joshua 4 years ago on our first trip. He is the son of the pastor at the Methodist Church, where YWAM asked if they sent us there. We went did VBS there every day. They needed to bridge the church with YWAM. There were just he had some concerns with why YWAM came, and so we did that. And according to Pisette, it was very successful. That church now has really good communication. So I've kept in contact with Joshua. We went out and saw some of the ruins that are in Battambang that I'd never seen before. Ruined temples. We walked up a couple hundred steps. That was fun. And then his girlfriend joined us, and we went out to eat. So just keeping in touch with some of the Khmer people has just been such a blessing.
And that you mentioned PSET, which I know we'll talk about him more. He's someone who serves in various roles at the YWAM campus, but he was a lot of times our point of contact. He's become really good friends. And one of the first things he said to us when we came back was just what an impact our teams going there have had. And you just think about how many teams PSET interacts with throughout a year and how vividly he remembers our team. I don't know if Nancy Young's out there, but he brought up the flannel boards and how effective that was with teaching the gospel to children. And just right off the bat, it's like we're there to encourage them, and it's just, you get that encouragement right back.
He said he smiles every time he thinks of Nancy. So,
yeah.
Okay, so go back to that, I'm sorry, back to the okay, so these are 3 college boys that we met 3 years ago. YWAM has a program with the college where Shrey Mum would go take people, like Americans there. They get to practice English. You can talk about a subject. And then the goal is that they would invite you to hang out with them later. So Michael Group and Conrad Martin went with me that day. We went to hang out with them for 2.5 hours, and it was just really good. We just talked about life, and they served us some food that made us a little ill. They meant all good by it, but the illness was based on how much we ate. I ate the least. Didn't get much sick. So so I've kept in touch with these guys, and when they heard I was coming, they said, "Mr. Dean, we want to hang out with you." So we had some really good quality time, and just deepening the friendship, laughing together, and just getting to know them better. So what you need to know, Noi and Kirker are Buddhist, and Livad is Muslim, and I love those guys. I mean, they are just, and we call them pre-Christians. They know the word. Livat keeps asking, when's Andy Simbala coming back? And when's Conrad coming back? And Michael, they want to get a haircut from Michael. So it's been just really good just cultivating this friendship over the years. All right. Yes.
So Jeevit's House is one of the ministries. I believe it actually falls under CLC, the Community Light Church, but it's part of YWAM. And many of the pictures I think all the pictures are from streets that we actually were on, our last team when we were there. And we got the privilege of going out with them to these streets. And we have pamphlets. I encourage you guys to each take one. I can't probably convey everything in it as well as it's written. Just to see them go out, build relationships with the families that are broken. You see examples of over time how they've connected the husband and wife back together, the children, and that there's just a complete family. they go and pick up the children and bring them back to the campus, to the training center to teach them, because these are children that really don't have the resources to even go to any school. So just teaching them Khmer, and then teaching them English, getting to go outside and play soccer, get swimming lessons. They really pour a lot into them. On Fridays, I know 2 women go in there and just do a women's ministry. Yeah, Jiva's House is one of those ministries that, like, just, you go there and see it in person, you just can't help but have a heart for it. So I hope to really convey that and encourage you to get a pamphlet afterwards. And it's just, beyond talking about money and giving, they appreciate the prayers. They just appreciate you. I'll share this now, because I asked a lot of people as I wrapped up with them, like, what if you came back to this church? You know, what would you want to share? And it's like so many of them, there's a wide range of responses, but they had a common kind of theme. And there's one, keep in mind English is her second language, but I'm just going to read it. She said, please tell them, come and join our mission in Cambodia and bring the smile and hug to our Cambodian kids. They need us to hold their hand to see the real beautiful world from God. Thanks for loving and praying for us.
So Jivat, I'm just going to jump in. Jivat's house, Jivat means life. So it was named after a young girl. And I just want to tell you a story. The young lady here at the side here. So we're sitting in a circle, and the older lady there was telling a story to Concret. And 2 years previous to this, Concret was passing out rice at, I'm going to say like an outdoor market or someplace. And she had no food, and she came there, and Concret gave her a bowl of rice 2 years prior. She never knew that happened. So by now we're all crying, and because it was so powerful the way she just sat there and told her this story. I can only imagine that that was a step towards her becoming a Christian, and she is now a Christian, and she tells other people about Christ, and she comes to the church at YWAM, and it's just a really good, just a good, like, whatever deed we do in the name of Christ does not go unturned. It may have saved her life that day when she went and got that bowl of rice. So we're going to change the slide here, and it's just some more from Jivat's house, and just a lot that they do.
And the history of it, it was started with one child that was abandoned that had HIV, that the campus kind of took in, and they named the child Jivat, which means, you might have already said this, life in Khmer. And the ministry started in 2010, but that was the primary focus early on, where these families that had HIV or AIDS, that they were going and building relationships with, and it's just grown into this much bigger ministry that goes to multiple locations.
All right, we're going to get into, we met with a lot of people. We're going to change the slide and just start talking. We really are pushed for time, but we want to give you the heart of what is happening in their hearts and how God is using them. So Chiva, if you've ever been to YWAM, you would know Chiva. So Chiva is just a really amazing guy. He spoke into us and just really blessed us. So he told a story that I just need to share with you. A new believer in family had no money. When they say they had no money, that means that, like, there's no money. There's no bank. There's just no money. We hear this a lot. So they prayed and asked God. There was a specific amount of money they needed. I think like $1,200. It seemed like a lot.
It was 50,000 real, which is equivalent to $12.50.
$12.50. I'm so sorry. $12.50.
U.S. dollars goes very far in that country.
Yeah. So they prayed to God that God would provide this $12.50. And so she was driving down the road, and a police officer motioned for her to come over. So she went over to the police officer.
Which in that culture, like, you don't want to interact with the police.
Yeah,
like,
they're not there to protect you.
Outcome if you're being waved over by the police.
And she went over, and he handed her an envelope with $12.50.
Yeah.
Now, I said to Chiva, it may have been an angel. That may have been an angel standing there giving the money. But just one of the many stories that we hear when we talk. And Chiva is just,
Again, it's
he's
like
always
their
behind.
faith, it's their faith in action. Like, all they had in that situation was to pray. That's the only option they had.
One thing that I see in Cambodia is, I just feel like they have a desperation for God. We have money, so we can go to the doctor, we can get help, and we can do so forth. They don't have that, so therefore, unlike us sometimes, they go to God, and God answers their prayers, and we hear so many miracles and so many things that are happening. Moving on, Sidon and Concret was the girl that we saw from Jivat's house. Just a great friend that I just keep in contact. His wife died when his daughter was very young. She is now 6 years old. They are pre-engaged, which means they have to first go to Vietnam to her family's home to ask for permission, and then they'll be engaged. So they will be getting married in the future, and just really an encouraging time, just loving on them and just appreciating who they are. And then we have Pisette.
Oh, yeah, we mentioned Pisette on the left. That's his family. He's just someone that, we've gotten to know well. We love him. We love his family. He's just a very practical person when it comes to knowing what people need and sharing the gospel and facilitating that and connecting the staff with people. He's just an all-around good guy.
All right, change the slide. Okay, we have Soap Peep. She says hi to Nancy, and she works with the children at Chiva's house, so she just really loves children. In the middle, we have Derit.
Yeah, if you want to try Khmer food, go out with Derry. He will show you all sorts of local food to eat and partake in.
They're a young couple. They're going to get married next year, and then they want to go out and start a YWAM base. So they just really love God, and they just want to go out and go into areas where there is no YWAM and where people need to hear the gospel. Selah and Shreymam. Shreymam is the young lady who, took us to the college, and that's where we met the Khmer college students over the years, and we just had a wonderful time just catching up with them.
Yeah, just a thought there. You can continue, but like we hear very many times that like Garth and his family are very big on championing the Khmer people, empowering them, equipping them, encouraging them to go out. And that coupled with an example that they've left YWAM, but they continue to be involved in ministry out in other areas and preaching the gospel.
So this is Sopot. I love this guy. I met him 4 years ago. We went into the village. Heather and Tony went along, and we went door-to-door evangelism. And we went to the one home, and that guy, we were talking about Jesus. I was talking about Jesus, and then he must have sensed he didn't know what I was talking about. So the guy said, I'd never heard of him before. And we were a little blown away that there was somebody who never heard the name Jesus. So this is Sopot, his two children. This man has planted churches. He goes places there are no Christians and plants a church. At the one church, a girl was laying there, she had never walked. He prayed for her, she got up and walked, church planted, and we visited that church. So he's out planting churches. He's such an encouragement. His friend said to him, why don't you get a real job and give up this YWAM thing? And his response was, he is enough. And they really don't have anything to their name, but they love God so much.
Well, so they lost. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they lost both of their fathers. His wife and himself both lost fathers. So the little daughter asked if she could call me Grandpa Dean. And I said, most honored. So she came up and just hugged and hugged and hugged me. And it was so precious. And then this picture in the middle, he said, that's night and day. So that was pretty cool. But this guy, he's a good guy. I love this guy.
Hey, you go next slide. Just to touch on culturally, like when someone from Cambodia decides to follow Jesus, the culture is such like an honor, respect thing that like the children are going to grow up and take care of the parents, so they don't understand like why would you give up working a job to be paid money to go follow Jesus? That's really a hard thing in the family dynamic for them to get across. Just really quick with this slide. Mien, Mono, Sanun, and their family, they're really involved with the YWAM campus. Sarit, he's the founder of New Hope School, which is separate from YWAM. We've went there several times. really love that school. They serve about 350 students in a day between the different types of schools. He's working on land and building that up to start a second school. If anybody would like to know more about that, I can probably talk for an hour just on New Hope.
We're just going to go through a couple of slides here. Just some friends that we spent time, the people that with the pictures we spent some time with. Just a wonderful young couple. And then some of the people that you see in here, we had supported them 3 years ago, and they're still very grateful for that. Next slide.
The appreciation they express is like, again, it's just praying with them, praying for them, walking with them. That means as much, if not more, than the monetary donations that anyone is giving them.
I spent a meal with this wonderful couple, Ratana and Soporn, and they adopted a son. They were not able to have children. They adopted a son, and they had questions to me. How can they sustain ministry for a long length of time? And I said, take more breaks, longer breaks, and some marriage advice and just things like that. It was just a really good time, just to speak into them and just hear their heart and just bless them. Next slide. This is so porn. We had supported her 3 years ago, and she's out on an adventure to start a dormitory with other people. Rena, we're going to go to the next slide. So Rena was here 3 years ago, and since then, during COVID, got married, had a little wedding, got married. They have a daughter. The daughter's name is Eden. They got married at Eden Cafe. How fitting. And her husband is the maintenance guy, and Rena is, one of the top people there on the staff. Just a really, really good time spending time with them and just talking about how she loved strawberries, and she ate a lot of them at our house. So this says, if I'm correct, I love Battambang. They're just a young lady that's very artistic, and I said, oh, please, and she made that for me. A very kind, gentle man named Piop came to me, next slide, and said, 2 weeks ago, I was laying in bed, and I said, God, who should I pray for? And God said, pray for Dean. So he prayed for me, and that, my life would touch many, and I believe this applies to Adam also. And so he got this verse. God gave him this verse, 2 Corinthians 3, 2, and 3. You yourselves are all the endorsement we need. Your very lives are a letter that anyone can read by just looking at you. Christ himself wrote it, not with ink, but with God's living spirit, not chiseled into stone, but carved into human lives, and we publish it. And that was on our way out the door on Monday morning, right before we got back onto the bus. And that was so encouraging. And we were, by blessing others, we were so blessed and overflowing. And Chiva explained us, we were a full cup, and it overflowed into others' lives. And it was such a blessing to be in Cambodia. Thank you, Mission Hill, for
thank you
for
everyone
love
that
and
prayed
support,
for us.
praying for us. We will start bringing teams back in 23,
Yes,
Lord
we
willing.
hope to.
And
If
just
anyone
get
is
that ball
interested,
rolling.
if you're sitting there thinking, maybe not, just come talk to us. I'll sit and talk to anyone as long as they want about Cambodia. We can go grab something to eat sometime. Just grab us. Doesn't matter what time it is.
We feel like we're a little more Khmer than we were because we just really heard the hearts, and we just really stretched ourselves to just live the life a little more like a Khmer.
I realized quickly that learning at least the conversational, being competent and being conversational in language would be very beneficial there. So I hope to be, next time I go back, I hope to be able to hold some basic conversations
Thank
in
you.
their language.
God bless you.
We have plenty of brochures. They might be out on the table as well, but I encourage you to stop and talk to Garth and Caroline.